All right, welcome to Guaranteed Calm for the Holidays. I'm Dr. Marny, and I'm super excited that you're here with me today. We are going to go over some really awesome stuff today, and I'm excited that you're here. So I'm going to go over some. Let's just start with a sound check. So if you could raise your hand to let me know that you can hear me, that would be terrific. Perfect. It's okay. Good. We are good. Hate to be talking and nobody can hear me, right? All right. So I am honored that you're here with me today. I know it's a big deal to take time out of your day, any day of the year, and especially in the middle of holiday time, it's a super big deal. So I'm super excited. There are a range of people here, people I've never met in person, colleagues, clients, and even my dad, who never fails to be on each and every one of my events. So I always have a built-in fan club, which is awesome. So what's really super cool about this workshop is that as you're sitting here watching me and learning the techniques I'm going to teach today, you'll realize how easy it is to stay calm and enjoy the holidays no matter what's going on around you. And you'll be really glad you chose to be here today. So the only catch with this is that you have to remember to use the techniques. It's going to be important to practice them and to remember to use them. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to help you stay calm and enjoy the holidays. But don't worry, because I'm going to teach you how to practice them, and I will give you some really great tips on how to remember to use them when you most need them, in the heat of the moment, when the chaos is at its maximum and you feel like you're going to blow a gasket. So it's all going to be good. I am recording, as you know, and so because you registered, you'll get access to the recording, and I'm going to make that access available to you for, I think, probably for 2 weeks, so you have it throughout the holiday season. And along with the recordings, you'll get an email summary of the techniques I'm going to teach you today. So you don't have to take notes. If you learn really well by taking notes and you love to take notes, by all means, knock yourself out, take notes. I do take notes furiously when I'm attending something, so I totally understand if that's you. A little bit of housekeeping to start with. We are going to be together for about an hour and a half. I'm committed to giving you everything I've got. I've got a lot to share, and I'm going to ask that you do everything you can to be present here with me and to give me your full attention. I decided, since it's an hour and a half, we're not going to have an official break. I do recommend, if you think you might need to get up and use the bathroom, that you actually run and do it now, so that you don't miss something important later on. During the workshop, there are going to be opportunities for sharing, for questions and answers, and hopefully even some coaching. Hopefully is partly time dependent, but it's mostly dependent on you all being willing and brave enough to volunteer for some coaching. And I hope you will, because that's where you're going to learn the most, and everyone is going to learn from whatever you share. I've rarely been, next to never been in a workshop or other event where someone shares and it doesn't have applicability to everybody at some level. So I hope that some of you will be brave enough to share, and let me help you work through how to stay calm and enjoy your holidays. If you panicked a little bit or a lot when I mentioned a recording, the recording is only going to be available to those who registered for the workshop. It's set up to only show me unless you give me permission to bring you on camera with me. Having said that, I do recommend, if you want to, that you change your screen name so that it only shows your first name. That can help a little bit with privacy if you're a little nervous about that. If you want to change your screen name, the way to do it is to click on the 3 dots in the upper right corner of your video thumbnail, choose rename, and then edit the name. That will allow you to change your name, and I'm going to post those instructions in the chat just so you have them if you want them. If you really want to be anonymous, but you think you want to share, go ahead and put a fake name in. Put a fake first name is. The only thing is if you put in a fake name, then go ahead and make sure you remember. Sorry, if you put in a fake name, be sure you remember the fake name you put in, so that if I call on you, you know I'm talking to you. So yes, so we will make it as private as you want it to be. So if you're okay with me using your real first name, put your real first name on the on your screen name. If you want to be totally anonymous, put a fake first name on your screen name, and the instructions on how to do that are in the chat. Does anyone have any questions about that before I go further? Okay. Now, because I do need to do a little bit of legalese here, so give me just 1 second. You'll understand why in a moment. So I'm going to share my screen for a sec. So because I am a medical doctor, I have to jump through some legal hoops every now and again. So bear with me as I read the disclaimer here. The guaranteed column for the holidays workshop and all material presented by Thriving Healthy Families, LLC are provided purely for educational and coaching purposes. I, Dr. Marny Turville, am a medical doctor licensed to practice medicine in the state of Illinois. And I, Dr. Marny, am the founder and president of both Thriving Healthy Families, LLC, a coaching business, and Outside the Pillbox Ltd, an Illinois medical corporation. By participating in the guaranteed column for the holidays workshop, you are engaging solely with Thriving Healthy Families, LLC. Your participation in the guaranteed column for the holidays workshop in no way constitutes or creates a doctor-patient relationship with me, Dr. Marny Turville, or with Outside the Pillbox Ltd. While general mental and emotional health information and advice may be provided as part of the educational content in the guaranteed column for the holidays workshop, absolutely no individual medical diagnosis or treatment advice will be given in the workshop, and nothing in the guaranteed column for the holidays workshop should be construed as individual medical advice. And as always, because it's always good to sound like a commercial, before embarking on any changes in your lifestyle, medication, or supplements, please consult your own personal physician. All right, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's dive in. Because we're in the middle of the holidays, life is kind of hectic. So let's just start by getting everybody calm, centered, focused, and here with me. So if you would, please close your eyes and let's just take 3 deep, slow breaths together. In through your nose, as deep as you can, and out through pursed lips. In again. Out through pursed lips. And one more. All right, you can open your eyes whenever you're ready. Does that feel better? I hope so. That was a bonus technique. That's not even one that I was technically teaching, and it was as much for me as it was for you. So there you go. So you are in the right place today if your extended family drives you nuts during the holidays. Holiday drama robs you of all enjoyment. Your kids always find just the wrong moment to act up. You're more irritable or short-tempered because of the chaos. You have to go to the office party, but you really don't want to. That one family member or coworker just makes you so upset. You overindulge and then feel sick or gain unwanted weight during the holidays. You crave a moment alone to relax and unwind. Or you're counting the minutes until the holidays are over. If you said yes to any of those, you're in the right place, and we're going to teach you today how to feel so much better about that. So just a teeny bit about my story. I have two kids who are now officially adults, which is hard for me still to wrap my head around. So my kids are 20 and 23. And in the past, I didn't think the holidays stressed me that much, but boy, oh boy, did I get bent out of shape during the holidays. And now I know that being bent out of shape means I was really stressed. So there's a hint. A lot of people say, oh, I'm not stressed. But if you're getting bent out of shape, you're stressed. If you're losing your patience, you're stressed. If you're feeling grumpy, you're stressed. There's so many ways we feel stressed that we don't really recognize or admit are stressed. Because who wants to be stressed all the time? But I have always been a hopeless romantic, so I've always wanted the holidays to be perfect. And that created a lot of stress for me. So when my kids didn't want to do a holiday activity that I thought was important, I would pout and feel hurt, and sometimes I'd force them to do it. I always wanted them to be on their best behavior, especially around extended family. And then when they'd inevitably act their age, I'd read them the riot act. It took me until they were in their mid-teens, and I'd already done a fair amount of healing, to have a big aha moment and realize that I was so worried about them behaving their best to impress people that I was behaving my worst. I was like, oh my God. And, just because I recognized that didn't mean I had any idea how to change it. In fact, I didn't have any idea how to change it back then. But fast forward to now, and with more healing and the help of the techniques I'm going to share with you today, I can honestly say that I'm able to stay calm and enjoy the holidays as well as the rest of the year. I just had both kids home for Thanksgiving, and there were plenty of moments, but they were just like little itsy moments. I'm human. I still get triggered, but those triggers are tiny compared to the past. And now they trigger me to use my tools instead of to lose my patience or to feel hurt or angry or disrespected or any of the other feelings we get when we're triggered. So my goal is that you will gain some of that today. And it does take time and practice to really make this part of who you are and how you are self-responsible about your experience and the experience of the people around you. You can't be responsible for their experience, but your own self-responsibility about your experience will improve the experience of everyone around you. So that's what we're going for today. So I'm going to start by guiding you through creating a fingertip connection that can bring you instantly into a state of calm and relaxation. And after that, I'm going to teach you two tools to help you reframe any stressful situation and put yourself in a position of control over your emotions and your behaviors. So let's jump in. Remember how I said that getting bent out of shape means you're stressed? Let me explain that a little bit. So among the many hats I wear, I am certified as a conscious transformational coach, or a CTC. And one of the things we really pay attention to in CTC is our belief that we're all born with our body, mind, spirit, and emotions hooked together. We're born as fully integrated beings. But then life happens and we begin to split apart. And what causes those splits are those moments when we're young and things are happening too fast, they're too confusing, they're too intense, or heaven forbid, they're too painful for us to stay emotionally present. Those moments can actually happen when we're full-grown adults too, but for the most part, the ones that really affect us the most happen when we're quite young. So in order to stay sane during these difficult moments, we start splitting apart, disconnecting, and the event remains incomplete, leaving behind some trash. Mental and emotional trash builds up over our lifetimes, and there's often so much in our lives going on that by the time we're adults, it's pretty normal to be pretty stinky up in our heads. we end up with a head full of trash that shows up as mental and emotional blocks, also known as limiting beliefs. And it's that trash that causes us to get bent out of shape. So when I use conscious transformational coaching with my clients, I help them to take out their trash. That's the number one thing we do. It's easy, fast, and permanent. And when there's less trash, there's less to get bent out of shape about. When there's a lot less trash, there's a lot less to get bent out of shape about. And life becomes a totally different ballgame. Like part of the certification process has been taking out my own trash with my colleagues, and the difference has been phenomenal in my life. So it's an amazing process. And along with the process of taking out the trash, which we're not doing today because that really is a one-on-one activity, but I wanted you to know about it. We use a number of other techniques and tools that I am going to share today because they help to accelerate the process of gaining control over your life instead of having your life control you. So the first thing we're going to do is a guided imagery session. And then at the end of that, you're going to create a fingertip connection to a state of calm and relaxation. And we're going to have your eyes closed during most of that. So I want to show you real quick. This is the fingertip connection. It's putting your index finger and thumb of each hand together as if you're making the OK sign with both hands. I want you to use both hands. And now I have two really important things. I would really appreciate it if people would come on camera, because it would be really useful for me to be able to see you, because I'm going to have to know if you're ready to move on in the process. And I'm going to have you do that by raising your hand. I'm going to be spotlighted on the video. You are not going to be visible on the recording, I promise. But if you can come on camera, I've got a second screen where I can see you and see if you've raised your hand that you're ready to go on. So the other part is it's really important that you're not driving, and I can see all but 2 people are on camera now. So I just need to at least know that those 2 people are not driving. Or if you are driving, please maybe turn down your volume for the next 10 minutes, because I don't want you lulled into any sort of accidents. That would be bad. All right. So, everybody ready? All right, go ahead and get comfortable and take a deep, slow breath and allow your eyes to close. Breathing in so deeply that your belly has to expand, and breathing out completely. The deep breaths activate your diaphragm so that your body understands that you're in a safe space. So take another deep, slow breath, noticing how your body expands to receive the air and how effortlessly your body releases the air when you breathe out. Taking in another deep, slow breath, noticing how your body expands, and then breathing out, noticing how effortlessly your body releases the air. And with your next breath in, imagine the air is coming in through the top of your head, and all the thoughts in your head are swirling in the air like leaves on a breeze, so that when you breathe out, those thought leaves just settle to the floor of your mind. Not gone, just put away. And as you breathe in again, imagining the air coming in through the top of your head and any remaining thought leaves just swirling on the air, so that as you breathe out, they settle to the floor of your mind. As you breathe in again, imagine bringing in not just air, but also warm light through the top of your head, filling the open space in your mind. As you breathe out, notice that warm light flowing down your face down the back of your head and down your neck. As you breathe in again, bringing in more warm light through the top of your head. And as you breathe out, noticing the warm light flowing down your back, across your shoulders, and down your arms. Breathing in more warm light through the top of your head, and breathing out, noticing it flowing down your torso, past your hips, and into your legs. Breathing in again, bringing in more warm light through the top of your head, and breathing out, allowing the warm light to flow down your body, all the way down your legs and leaving through the soles of your feet, connecting and grounding you to the positive energy grid of the planet. As you breathe in again, bringing in more warm light through the top of your head, and as you breathe out, allowing the warm light to flow all the way down your body and out the soles of your feet, connecting you with the positive energy grid of the planet, so that with each breath going forward, you're surrounded, supported, sustained, and suspended in the light. Okay. Now we're going to move into using one of your own memories to create your fingertip connection. So keeping your eyes closed, take another deep, slow breath and find a memory of a time when you felt completely relaxed and comfortable. It can be any time or place where that's true for you. Let me know when you have a memory by raising one hand so I can see it. Terrific. So notice the strongest emotion you're feeling in the moment. And scan your body and notice where in your body do you feel the shift towards comfortable and relaxed. And as you notice that place, pay attention to the physical sensations there. What do you actually feel? Is it warmer or cooler? Tighter or looser? Lighter or heavier? Or something else entirely? Whatever you feel is right. I just want you to notice where you feel the shift towards comfortable and relaxed and how it feels physically. And then give it a number on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is comfortable and relaxed. Just notice your number. And now continue to notice the sensations of calm and relaxation in your body. Notice them, focus on them, allow them to deepen, and press together your index finger and thumb of each hand, pressing and storing these feelings for use later as you remember to breathe. And as you're aware of these feelings being pressed and stored in your fingertips, count backwards slowly in your mind from 10 to 1, allowing the feelings to deepen with each number. Counting from 10 to 9 to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now go ahead and take a deep, slow breath and allow the memory to fade. And keeping your eyes closed, allow your hands to rest and your fingers to be apart. Taking another deep, slow breath, find another memory of a time when you felt completely relaxed and comfortable. It can be any time or place where that's true for you. Let me know when you have a memory by raising one hand so I can see it. Thank you. Again, notice the strongest emotion you're feeling as you look at this memory. And scanning your body, notice where in your body you feel the shift towards relaxed and comfortable. And notice the physical sensations there. What does relaxed and comfortable feel like in your body? Pay attention to that. And give it a number on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is comfortable and relaxed. Notice your number. And as you notice those sensations of calm and relaxation in your body, notice them, focus on them, allow them to deepen, and press together your index finger and thumb of each hand, pressing and storing these feelings for use later as you remember to breathe. And as you're aware of these feelings being pressed and stored in your fingertips, count backwards slowly in your mind from 10 to 1, allowing the feelings to deepen with each number. Counting from 10 to 9 to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So take a deep, slow breath and allow the memory to fade. And whenever you're ready, allow your hands to rest, your fingers to be apart, and your eyes to open. All right, welcome back. Looks like nobody fell all the way asleep, so that's awesome. So that's a powerful tool that you just created for yourself. And you can use that tool anytime you'd like to relax and calm down. So I have a question for you. Where in your life would it be useful for you to be a little calmer? Feel free to pop that in the chat or even to unmute and let me know. Where in your life would it be useful for you to be a little calmer? Don't be shy. All right, Tansy says with my daughter. Okay. Janine says dealing with my mother. Okay. Anybody else? Preparing for the kids to come home. Yep. Those are all great examples. So these situations where you know you could use a little more calm in your life are the perfect place to practice your soothing connection. We just got dealing with colleagues also. So, and organizing holiday events. Yes, it's easy to get overwhelmed and stressed organizing an event. So anytime you know an event or situation is coming up where you could use, where it would be great for you to be a little more calm and relaxed, all you need to do is take a deep breath Activate your connection by bringing together your index finger and thumb of each hand. And let your body give you whatever feelings it has for you. And just hold it there for a few seconds. You will notice that feeling of calm coming over your body. So practicing is super important because the more you practice and use your connection, I call it your soothing connection. The more you practice and use it, the more you'll remember that it's there when you really need it. And also the stronger it will get because it is a muscle memory connection. So let's talk about practicing a little bit more. So in addition to any situation where you know you want more calm, it's a great idea to just practice it as if you were, on a sports team and you go to practice every day because you know you have a game coming up. You don't wait for the game to use your skills. You practice each day prior to the game. So here's a couple great ways where you can practice. The first is anytime you're answering the phone or making a call. Before you pick up the phone, take a deep breath, activate your connection, and let your body give you whatever feelings it has for you. When you do that, you'll answer the phone from a calmer place, and the person on the other end will sense that, and that will be that will set the container for an easier, more productive conversation. Second great place to practice it is when you're driving and you come to a red traffic light. So instead of getting upset that the light turned red and got in the way of you getting where you want to get to in the fastest possible way, you just take a deep breath, bring together your index finger and thumbs, and let your body give you whatever feelings it has for you. So instead of feeling stressed about the light turning red, you get to relax and feel calm. And the fastest way to practice and build the strength of your connection and your awareness of the connection is to set an alarm in your phone. Use the timer function and set it to go off anytime that you know you're not in an important meeting, because obviously we don't want to interrupt that. But anytime between meetings, set it to go off. And when it goes off, activate your connection and give your body a break from the stress cocktail of cortisol and adrenaline. You give your body a chance to relax and reset, to feel calmer. It blows off steam, and you will then have a better, calmer next portion of your day. Does anybody have any questions about using your connection or practicing your connection? Nope. All right. How'd that feel? Did you like that exercise? Was it nice to get a little relaxed? Terrific. All right. So the next thing I want to share with you is something called ballpark theory. And ballpark theory has become my favorite. It has become my favorite go-to framework when I'm feeling any level of upset about an interaction with someone, or even just doesn't even have to be another person there, but I'm feeling upset about anything in my day. So ballpark theory is interesting, and it's best told as a story. So here we go. One day on a flight from Phoenix to Atlanta, there was a young ball player who was so excited he could barely sit still. He was jumping up and down out of his seat. He could barely get into his seat. He was so excited. He was telling everyone on the flight, having already told everyone in the airport, how excited he was to have been called up from the minors to the majors. And he was on his way to Atlanta to play in the majors. And he was so excited. He was going to be the best ball player there was, and he was about to become a legend and in the Hall of Fame, and nothing could be better in his life. He had waited his whole life. He'd worked his whole life for this time, and now it was his time, and he was super excited. So the whole flight, he's super excited. He can barely stay in his seat, and he gets off the plane, and he's just mad dash to pick up his luggage and get to the ballpark as fast as he can. And when he gets to the ballpark, he's walking through, he's going through the halls and he's looking at all the trophies and all the jerseys and the championship flags. And he is almost out of his mind with excitement. And then he looks up and he sees coming towards him, very prim and proper in his suit and tie, who else but the ballpark owner. Oh my gosh. Here he goes. Sir, I'm so glad to meet you. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to be here. You're going to be so happy you called me up. I'm going to do you proud. We are going to have the best team this year. We are going to go all the way and we are going to win the World Series. And the owner has heard this before. Every time someone's been called up for the majors, he knows the routine. He says, son, it's really nice to have you here, because remember, we're in Georgia. Son, it's really, really nice to have you here. Why don't you come with me and let's have a talk in my office? Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's go. I would love to have a talk with you. So they walk to the office and the owner sits down behind his big, huge owner desk. And the player has a little trouble sitting down. He's bouncing all around because he's so excited and happy. But he finally manages to settle down into the seat opposite the ballpark owner. And the ballpark owner slides some papers across the table to him and says, son, take a few minutes and read over this contract. And when you're ready, you can sign the contract and we can have a talk. He says, oh, yes, sir, I'll read it. Okay. And he's reading and he's still bouncing because he's excited. And as he reads more and more, he starts to read some things that he's not quite sure about. And he starts to settle down into his seat a little bit. And then he reads a little bit more and he's not too excited about some of these rules. And he looks up and he says, I'm not sure I like some of these rules all that much. And the ballpark owner says, it's all right, son. You don't need to like the rules. You have 3 options with the rules. Option 1, accept the rules of my ballpark without conflict. Play ball, make money, have fun. Option 2, argue with my rules, create conflict. You'll still play some ball. You won't make as much money because you'll be paying fines. You won't have as much fun because you'll be doing extra drills. Your choice. Option 3, get out of my ballpark. So these are the options that the player has. He says, well, you know what? The more I read these options, the more I like them. The more I like them. I think I'll be just fine. I'll be just fine with these rules, sir. Thank you. And he signs the contract. And they end their meeting and go off and do their baseball thing, right? So this is the story of ballpark theory, we call it. And ballpark theory is tremendously useful. You can use it between yourself and another person. You can even use it within yourself. So let's talk about it a little bit more. I'm going to share my screen again and go over these rules a little bit. Oops, you know what? I skipped. Hang on a second. I was supposed to share my screen about sharing the connection, and I got so excited I forgot. That's okay. Let me get to the ballpark rule once, and then we'll continue. Oops. Okay. I got so excited about being a ball player that I just forgot my own rules. No worries. Here we go. So ballpark owners have 3 responsibilities. The first is to know the rules of your ballpark. The second is to communicate the rules clearly preferably in writing. The third is to apply the rules equitably, not necessarily equally, because you will have players of very different levels in your ballpark. For example, as a parent, you're a ballpark owner and your kids are players in your ballpark. And you're not going to apply the rules the same to a 16-year-old as you would to a 3-year-old. At least, hopefully, you're not going to, because either way, it's not going to go too well. Ball players have 3 options, which I already discussed a little bit. Option 1 is accept the rules without conflict. Option 2, argue with the rules and create conflict. Another word for conflict is stress. And option 3, leave the ballpark. So I want to tell you a little bit of a story that illustrates this in action really well. And I'm going to borrow a story from the founder of Conscious Transformational Coaching, Jackie Simmons. I'm going to borrow her story because it illustrates in both directions the power of the ballpark. So Jackie has 3 daughters who are all now grown adults with their own lives, their own families. But back in the day when they were kids, they would go to visit Jackie's mom, holidays or other times. And it was always pretty chaotic and contentious. So one day, Jackie finally realized that when she goes to visit her mama's house is her mama's ballpark. And Jackie calls her mom her mama. So in the story, I'm going to call her mom her mama. Jackie has been teaching ballpark theory for a while, but hadn't really caught on to this. And she's had this great realization that, oh, I'm going to my mama's ballpark. So I have 3 options. Accept the rules of her ballpark without conflict, argue with her rules and create conflict, or leave her ballpark. And Jackie said, well, I don't want to leave her ballpark because she's my mama and I want my kids to know their grandma. So then I have 2 options left. And up until now, I've always been in option 2, arguing with her rules, creating conflict. And as Jackie says, option 1 had the benefit of having never been tried. So on one trip, Jackie decided she was going to accept the rules of her mama's ballpark without conflict. And on the ride to her mama's house, which is somewhere around 6 hours in the car, she spent most of the time coaching her 3 daughters on what they were going to do at grandma's house this time and how they were going to accept the rules without conflict. So when grandma said it's time for dinner, they come immediately for dinner. When grandma says it's time to go to the store, they get their coats, they're ready to go, they're in the car. So they got there. Grandma said she wanted to do this. Jackie said, okay, kids, store, 30 minutes, let's go. And everybody was at the door and ready to go when grandma wanted to go. And as Jackie says, it's a wonder her mama didn't have a heart attack when they were there for that particular visit, because everything went so differently. And everyone had a drastically less stressful time, a more calm, relaxed, and enjoyable time, because Jackie and her family recognized that they were in her mama's ballpark and they accepted the rules without conflict. The flip of the story is that Jackie's mama sometimes came to visit at her house. And one day Jackie said, wait a minute, when my mom comes to visit me at my house, she's in my ballpark. And this was a major revelation, because Jackie had been previously contorting herself and the whole family to please her mama when her mama came to visit her. Mama wanted to eat at a certain time, and even if it wasn't the time they ate, they would eat at the time mama wanted. Mama wanted to stay home and watch her TV show. They would all stay home instead of doing their usual activities and watch the TV show with mama. But this time was different. And when mama came, Jackie enforced the rules of her ballpark. Now, she didn't train her mom in ballpark rules. And we don't necessarily recommend that you have guests arrive and announce your ballpark rules. Because it's a little abrupt and a little rough around the edges, but you can convey them other ways. So here's how it went. The night before, Jackie would say to her mom, "Mama, we're having breakfast at 6:30 so we can get to soccer practice by 8 o'clock. Do you want to have breakfast with us, or do you want to sleep in and have breakfast on your own after we've left?" So that's a way of communicating the rules without, sitting down and reading them one by one. And later on, Jackie would say, "Mama, we're all going to the store. Do you want to come with us, or do you want to stay home and watch your TV show?" Mama had a choice. Now, Mama argued with the rules some because she didn't know ballpark theory, but nevertheless, Jackie had set out her rules and Mama's options, and it was a much better visit. And as the story goes, visits then were much easier both ways. And within a couple of years, Mama decided that she wasn't going to come and visit at Jackie's house. So Jackie and her girls would go down and visit at Mama's house. And that made everything more peaceful. And in fact, Jackie's husband at the time then also decided that he wasn't going to go down and visit Jackie's mama. And that was just fine with Jackie's mama. So it's kind of a funny story that illustrates the ballpark theory and how when you can accept the rules of someone else's ballpark, even though you don't necessarily agree with them, you can get along better and have a less stressful time. So this comes up a lot. It comes up a lot in everyday life, but it especially comes up a lot during holiday time. So when you're going to your parents' house, or your in-laws' house, or your sister's house, or your brother's house, or a friend's house, and you don't necessarily agree with the way they're doing things, you have three options. Accept the rules of their ballpark without conflict and have fun. You can still enjoy yourself even if you don't agree with their rules, and you'll enjoy yourself a lot more if you're not getting bent out of shape about their rules. You're like, well, this is their house. They get to make their rules. I don't have to agree with their rules, but I can have fun while I'm here. Then if you're talking to your spouse, I can't believe they do this all the time. Why do they do that? Why don't they make this food? Why don't they make that food? Why do they put up these decorations? That's arguing with the rules and creating conflict or stress for both yourself and whoever you're talking to. And it makes for less enjoyable, less calm holiday time. Make sense? Now, one of the things that gets people a little unsure about ballpark rules is this idea of accepting the rules of someone else's ballpark. Accepting those rules does not mean that you have to agree with those rules. It just means that you recognize that that's how someone else lives their life, and that you really don't have any control over how they live their life. You're still welcome to make suggestions to them, but ultimately it's their ballpark and they get to decide how they're going to live their life. So you get to decide, are you going to accept that and keep them in your life, meaning stay in their ballpark and play in their ballpark without creating conflict? Are you going to argue with their rules and create conflict, which creates stress for both of you? Or are you going to leave their ballpark? There probably won't be that many ballparks that you end up leaving, but there probably are some ballparks that you might be better served to leave when you take a look at it. One of the things that's really important about leaving a ballpark is that you come to option one in your mind first. Because if you leave a ballpark from a point of arguing with the rules and being in conflict with it, that ends up just creating resentment and bitterness within you that you carry with you. So if you're going to leave a ballpark, it's important to leave consciously, accepting that that person has rules that you don't agree with and you're not willing to participate in, and you're choosing consciously to not be part of it, blessing them, allowing them to live their life, being okay with the way they live their life, and simply knowing that you choose not to participate. That way you can leave a ballpark and not continue to create ongoing stress for yourself. So let's talk about some ballparks. Each and every person is their own ballpark owner. And when you're in a partnership, you're married, you're in a business partnership, you are two ballpark owners who've come together to form a league. And whether you know sports very much or not, you're probably aware that in a league, there are rules for how the ballparks interact. So in any partnership, the owners involved, whether it's two or more, are going to come together to form a league, and they're going to have created rules for their league. And the same thing applies there. If you're going to be in the league, you have three options: accept the rules without conflict, argue with the rules and create conflict, or disengage from the league, right? So even though you, and let's just, for the sake of this example, say you're married or you have a partner of some sort, even though you're each your own ballpark owner, you're also a player in your partner's ballpark, right? So this is one of the places where couples get in a lot of trouble, is they argue with the rules of their partner's ballpark. Let's just take the simple example of putting the cap on the toothpaste or putting the lid on the toilet seat down, right? If the rule of your partner's ballpark is they don't put the cap back on the toothpaste, or heaven forbid, they squeeze from the middle of the tube instead of the end of the tube, and it looks like a crumpled mess. If you argue with that rule, you're creating stress and conflict in your relationship. If you accept that rule without conflict, that makes for much better time for both of you. You can still say, would you be willing to put the cap on the toothpaste? It means a lot to me. I know it's a little tiny thing, but it means a lot to me. They may or may not be willing. Okay, still the rules of their ballpark. Hopefully you're not going to leave a partnership because of the cap on the toothpaste. But this applies, the ballpark theory framework applies from the tiniest little things in life to the biggest things in life. And it's hugely useful. I'll give you an example from Thanksgiving this year with my kids. So my son loves to play video games and to sleep. And that's pretty much his life. He's taken a year off from school this year. He had a rough start, and so that's what he's doing. He's also getting help, but so my daughter and I knew this about him, and we really wanted to spend some time with him on Thanksgiving after the meal. We knew he would join us for the meal because he likes to eat. So I told him a week ahead of time that we would really love for him to spend some time with us doing something fun after the meal. And he said, okay. The night before Thanksgiving, I thought, you know what, it's probably a good idea to remind him, because he's very much an in the moment kind of kid. And so I said, we'd really like to do something fun tomorrow. What should we do? And he says, I don't want to do anything. I said, well, we talked about this last week and you agreed to spend some time with me and Claire doing something fun. He says, well, I didn't agree to that. Now, I could have, and the old me would have gone into quite a reading of the riot act and saying, yes, you did. We talked about it on this day of the week, and this is exactly what I said, and this is exactly what you said, and you made me a promise, and you better not go back on it. That's what the old me would have done. But the new me, understanding ballpark theory, said, I really hope you'll change your mind and will be willing to spend some time with us after dinner. And I left it at that. And lo and behold, the next day after dinner, he was willing to play a game with us, and we had a great time. So that was a great example of me recognizing his ballpark And maybe him recognizing mine. He doesn't actually know ballpark theory formally, but I recognize that he's a ballpark owner and his rules may be that I don't, you know what, I don't want to spend time with people. And so I chose to accept his rules without conflict. And because I did that, he maybe reconsidered my rules that, you know, family spend some time together in the holidays. Don't know exactly how it happened, but I certainly know that because I chose to take option one with his ballpark rules, he and I and his sister, who was witnessing this interaction, all had a lot less stress in that moment. So that's ballpark theory. Oh, there's another place. So there's, so you're a ballpark owner in your home and your kids are players. Kids who are not adults are a little bit different situation. They are still players in your ballpark and you can teach them ballpark theory. They also are owners of their own ballpark. And so as a parent, it's really important to understand that each of your kids has different rules. They're each individuals. They are not all little mini yous who are exactly the same. And so when you understand the differences in your kids' ballparks, it makes for much easier parenting. But there is a little bit of a difference between parents and kids because you do have the opportunity, you know, as a parent, you do have to set some rules that are, you know, non-negotiable, and your kids may very well and frequently argue and create conflict with the rules. And that's a place where you can use your connection to help you stay calm as you navigate their upset. And where you can acknowledge the rules of their ballpark and yet say, but this is a family issue and our family rule is XYZ. Another super important ballpark that I didn't realize for a little while was that my body is a ballpark owner and I am a player in my body's ballpark. And that comes into the holidays because there's so much yummy food and drink at the holidays that we all know isn't really the best for us. And it's so easy to overindulge in the holidays and to either feel sick in the moment or to gain unwanted weight. And so a really useful way that you can employ ballpark theory during the holidays is to, before you go to any event, take a moment to remind yourself of the rules of your body's ballpark. It might be more than only one drink can be accommodated without difficulties. It may be that sugar isn't your friend, or it may be that, you know, one cookie is okay, but two or more makes you feel bloated and gross. Or it may be that some other particular food doesn't agree well with your body. Your taste buds might love it, but that food might not love you back and might cause inflammation or headaches or whatever. So you, as the player in your body's ballpark, get to accept the rules without conflict, which means adhering to the rules of what makes your body feel good, or argue with the rules, drink more drinks than your body can accommodate with ease, eat more cookies, cake, or whatever than your body can accommodate, and then create conflict. And that conflict shows up in a number of ways. It's going to show up as feeling sick immediately or the next day. It's going to show up as weight gain, or it's going to show up very likely as a whole lot of self beat up and blame and shame about yourself, which is a whole lot of stress that you really don't need. So if you're willing to add on paying attention to your own body's ballpark, that will really up the usefulness of this framework in keeping you calm and enjoying the holidays. So any questions about ballparks? Tansy, go ahead and unmute yourself. Can you unmute?
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button.
There you go.
So it's interesting when you were telling Jackie's story that when she went to her mother, this reminds me so much of me with my children in the back of the car saying, right, we're going to Granny and Grandpop's now. And this is, remember when you go in, you have to go and say hello to Grandpa because they'd run off. And I remember, or I know very clearly what my parents' ballpark was. And I complied because I believed that was their home. I noticed with Jackie's story that when she had her mother come to stay, she gave her mother choices. Like these are our rules, but you can do this or this. Now, is that because out of respect, or because it was her mother, or under normal circumstances, would you say, oh, we're all getting up at 9 o'clock tomorrow? Do you know what I mean?
I think I do know what you mean. And you know, this is an example of a guest in your home. And most of the time when you have a guest in your home, you're not going to demand that they follow your schedule. But it's polite and considerate to tell them your schedule, right? And to invite them to participate with you or give them an option how not to. So for example, you know, if her mom didn't want to have breakfast with them, then they would, you know, have a discussion about, okay, well, here's what we have that you can fix for yourself, or I can make extra and you can heat it up, right? There's other options involved there.
I'm just thinking of people who I have had in my life before, who are so much in their own ballpark, they can't even contemplate someone else's ballpark, but they may be part of your family and you have to have them around you. And I'm just wondering how to navigate that. I guess that would be up to me to decide.
Well, that's where you're accepting the rules of their ballpark, that they're so in their own ballpark that they don't even recognize anyone else's ballpark.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the rule of their ballpark, that they are the center of the universe and everyone else revolves around them.
Yep.
And you know, when you get that and you can accept it and you can get that, well, you don't necessarily have to
Agree with them. Yeah.
right, or contort yourself to fit their idea of what you should be doing. You could just kind of laugh at them, not like at them, but you can, you know, to yourself inside, just say, oh boy, there they go again. Right. And you can accept it there, you know, true to form. There's Uncle Joe, true to form. Aunt Betty, true to form.
Yeah.
You know, and you can stay and watch it, or maybe that's a time when you excuse yourself to go see who's in the other room. Right?
Yeah, and just accepting that everybody's ballpark is different.
Right.
Like in a marriage, I like the marriage analogy you were giving.
Yeah, and so at the party, if there's a family member who's like, as you said, option one is as I described. Option two would be confronting them, you know, and saying, you know, it's not all about you, there are other people here. Or it would be about, you know, pulling aside someone else and saying, can you believe this? He always acts like such a jerk, you know. That's option two also. Or option two would be just getting upset about it and stomping off, or letting it ruin the rest of your holiday, which brings us right into the third thing I wanted to teach you today, which is about remote controls, emotional remote controls, to be specific. You're welcome. Thanks, Tansy, for sharing. So have you ever been, you've probably heard something like this go on in a store, where you're just shopping, minding your own business, and suddenly maybe the aisle over, or maybe right in front of you, there's a kid and a mom, and the kid has been begging for this certain food, and the mom's saying, no, we can't have it. And the kid's putting up more and more of a fight, because the kid has probably learned over time that the more the kid pushes for what they want, the mom eventually gives in, right? So the ruckus is getting louder and louder, with the kid asking and the mom saying no. And then suddenly the mom just goes, you make me so mad. Well, in that moment, when the mom says, you make me so mad, The mom handed her kid an emotional remote control and gave that kid what is incredibly scary to kids, but nobody really realizes it, which is the power to control an adult's emotions. Right? We've all heard about, oh, they push my buttons, or I know just how to push her buttons, right? And that's, the remote control thing comes right into that. When you're pushing someone's buttons, you're basically using a pretend remote control to control their emotions. And the reality is nobody has control over anybody else's emotions, but we give our power away to people and allow them to control our emotions. Right? So one of the ways that you can bring calm and enjoyment back into your holidays and every day of your life is to go around and collect all of the emotional remote controls that you have given out over your life. Now, I recommend that you just do this on your own, in your mind, symbolically. You don't go knocking on anybody's door and saying, excuse me, I'd like my remote control back. Although maybe you might, because it could be a fun conversation. But in general, it's just a matter of recognizing that nobody can make you feel a particular way. Their behavior can create and will create always thoughts in your mind, and those thoughts will lead to emotions. That always happens. But it's not because they made you feel that emotion. It's because their behavior stirred up your trash, and your trash had you have a thought that led to an emotion that you felt. They didn't make you do it. You felt the emotion. And when you recognize that no one can control your emotions, you can feel that stuff. And you can even think in your head. So like this happens to me. Now, this is one of the ways I told you I would give you tips on how to recognize when to use these tools. And this is the easiest tip. Like when you hear yourself say in your head or out loud, he makes me so, she makes me so. That's your clue that they have a remote control that you haven't taken back yet. And you can take that remote control back right in that moment, just on your own, in your own head, and say, oh, you know what? I don't have to let that person control my emotions anymore. This is also a great place to practice your connection. And one of the beautiful things about this connection is you can practice it without anybody knowing. Let's say you're sitting at the dinner table and somebody says something that makes you mad, right? Didn't really make you mad. You just got mad when they said it. That's a great place for you to recognize, oh, they have an emotional remote control that I have to take back. And at the same time, under the table, put together your index finger and thumb of each hand and allow your body to give you those calm and soothing feelings that it has for you, right? You can take a moment and take a deep breath, and you can choose which option you're going to take in that person's ballpark, because all these things pull together every time. So if someone makes you mad, supposedly, it just means that there's a rule in their ballpark that you don't like. And so in that moment, you get to say, oh, okay, I'm not going to let him or her make me mad anymore. They just have this rule in their ballpark, and I get to choose if I'm going to accept it or argue with it. So I'm committed to accepting. I've made a rule in my life. Anytime I do not allow myself to be an option two. Now, do I find myself an option two? Yeah. But as soon as I find myself an option two, I figure out how to choose option one. So don't think that you'll always just easily take option one, but know that you always have the ability to pay attention to which option that you're in and to change the option that you choose, right? So you can do your connection to soothe yourself and bring yourself calm and relaxed energy under the table. behind your back, in your pockets. If you need to, you can subtly leave the room. You can excuse yourself to the bathroom and spend a longer time activating your connection if it happened to be a bigger deal that you need more calm and relaxation to get yourself out of, or maybe you need some more time to contemplate, well, whose ballpark is which, and am I a player, am I an owner, which option do I want to take, and how am I going to take back that remote control? You know, one of the things we talk about also in conscious transformational coaching is how we all have pets. And I'm not talking about dogs and cats and fish and parakeets. Those are, you know, great pets. I love my dog. I have the best non-retrieving golden retriever in the world. And but pets in conscious transformational coaching are personal emotional trainers. So anyone who has the ability to push your buttons, or anyone whose ballpark you need to be figuring out which option you're taking in, they are one of your personal emotional trainers. And our best personal emotional trainers are usually our partners, our spouse, our kids, our parents, our siblings, our boss, our coworkers. These people are going to be giving us opportunities to emotionally train ourselves all the time. And so instead of being upset about interactions with them, we could choose to be thankful that they give us an opportunity to become a better version of ourselves. They give us an opportunity to practice using our soothing connection to stay calm and relaxed. They give us an opportunity to practice reviewing the ballpark rules and figuring out who's the owner, who's the player. If I'm the player, which option am I going to take? If I'm the owner, did I communicate my rules clearly, or do I need to communicate a little better? You know, you've probably heard about people who don't have good boundaries. Well, lack of boundaries means you haven't communicated your rules clearly. Right? So I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover, and we've got about 10 minutes left. So I want to give an opportunity if anybody has questions, or if anybody has a situation that they'd like a little bit of personal coaching on how to utilize these techniques in that situation, I would love to help you. So what you got? Don't be shy. Okay, everybody's got their holidays handled. Okay, all right. I think I saw Susan's hand first, then I saw my dad. So Susan, go for it.
When you were talking about the ballpark theory, I realized that that definitely came into play as my kids were moving from living at home to young adults.
Oh,
and
yeah.
there was just a lot of conflict of when they would come back home, especially when they were in college. And so I wish I would have known that then, because there was just didn't have a lot of arguments, but I had a lot of angst because,
Mhm.
man, why can't they just do this? Why can't they just do that? They always used to do this. Why can't they do this now? And so having a way to just consciously think about that, I know would have helped then. But even now, you know, they're living, you know, they're all living away now, and trying to it's trying to own when they come back home. So I, you know, if I go to visit them, totally their rules, totally, you know, I'm told absolutely accept that. But I'm having trouble when they come back home to enforce some, well, not like you said, we don't enforce those rules anymore necessarily, but to get them like your son did to join in and do this. And so I get your example, but I'm trying to figure out how to make that work when
Yeah, that's a
when they
great one.
come.
And you bring up especially, you know, when our kids are adults and living on their own, their home is their ballpark. You know, we've got our ballpark of our life. You know, so even when you have little kids and they're living in your house, they're the ballpark owner of their life. But when they're older and they move to their own home, they've got a literal ballpark that they live in, that's their own. And college is a really interesting transition time, right? Because they live somewhere else most of the year, but they still technically live at your home, right? That's their permanent address still, right? And you're still their mom, and they're still your dependent. So you're still usually paying the majority of their expenses, or at least a significant part. That varies, of course, family to family. So it's a very interesting and sometimes challenging transition time. And I think, to your point, all you can do is talk. The best thing is to have communication. Like, how do we want to enjoy the holidays together? So a lot of times what happens is we make assumptions that the holidays are going to be the same as they always were. And we forget that our kids are older now. They have more independence. They have high school friends that they haven't seen for a year and they want to catch up with. And we're not such a focal point of their lives anymore. And so that's us accepting their ballpark, that they're more independent. It's such a challenge for a parent, because every single year, holidays that come around once a year are different based on our kids' ages, but we get in our mind, this is how this holiday is at our house. And so some of it's recognizing that flexibility, but I think, you can't make a kid of any age participate in any, family activity easily without causing some stress, right? I mean, when you have little kids, it may be, yes, we're all going to this. If your kid knew ahead of time, say it's an older kid, and we've got tickets to this show, you agreed to come to this show, and this actually happens with my son fairly regularly. You agreed to come to the show. I bought tickets. Well, I don't want to go now. Well, I bought you a ticket because you agreed to go. So it is your obligation to use the ticket because you did agree and I spent money on it, right?
Right.
He could still refuse to go, but then him being an adult, we'd have a discussion of, well, you're gonna have to reimburse me for that ticket then, because I bought it because you asked me to, but the whole point is, it's all about, as they get older, how are we going to enjoy the holidays together? And what time while you're here can you give to the family? When do we schedule the family activities so that the most of us can be together? And you're going to have to say, one of my rules is I really want the whole family to be together for at least one evening. Which evening can that be? And at the same time, you can't
I've definitely done
force it. You just have to say, it's really important to me. It means a lot to me. So, so, yeah, you've got your ballpark. It's your family. Your family as a parent is, you're the ballpark owner. And you can't enforce, they all still have the options. They get to choose the options, and they can accept. They can argue and create conflict, or they can leave the ballpark, which means not being there for the thing you wanted them to be there for.
Right. I
And
do
then
like the intention that you said, basically, of, how are we going to enjoy the holidays, as the kind of what you're putting out there. And then, see how that can all work.
Right. And then if they
It's
are
adapting.
Yeah, and then if they argue or they leave, you get to switch and remember that you're a player in their ballpark, and say, oh, their rule is they get pissed about stuff and have to make drama. I'm going to accept that, but you don't have to participate in it. Say, you know what? I get that you're upset. Right. Calm yourself and say, I'm not going to argue with you. If you don't want to do it, that's fine.
Right.
I'm sad. I will, I wish it was a different way. Be careful not to say that makes me sad. If you catch yourself saying that makes me sad or that makes me angry, you have a remote control to take back, right?
Right.
But yeah, and if they
Thank you. That helped a lot. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. All right, Dad, did you have a question?
There. given the time, perhaps we should discuss it in a across the street. I thought the question is related to some, which was, if you have two ballpark owners, as in most homes where there are two spouses, and one simply does not recognize the ballpark of the other, how do you get along so that you're not always agreeing and never having a real chance to express your own view? Because if you accept number two and have a little conflict, it doesn't stay happy.
Right. It's tough, right? And the more years that's gone on, the harder it is to turn the ship around. So it's, it's a challenge, and it's probably a little bit more than I can really address here effectively. But I think let me try to make a stab at it to some degree, which is, it's a little bit the same as the example that came up before, where someone doesn't recognize other people's importance or other people's agency, their ability to make their own choices, or, everything has to be a conflict. So, one of the best things is that when you know that you can accept that this is the way this person behaves, instead of arguing with the way they behave and adding to the conflict, it allows for you to change how you're behaving, which often will change the way the other person's behaving. Not every single time, it's not a guarantee, but what is a guarantee is that continuing to do the same thing and expecting different results is going to backfire. Einstein calls it the definition of insanity, right? So if you want different results, you have to do things differently. So it's like Jackie said with her mama, and option one, accepting the rules without conflict, had the virtue of having never been tried. So, this is the kind of thing that it is really too much to address in the workshop, but it's what I address with clients all the time, is getting into those tougher situations and really working out, how do you best handle this? And it's actually a great place to say that, one of the most useful ways to handle this is to work with a conscious transformational coach like myself and take out some of your trash. Because the more trash you take out, the easier it gets to accept the rules of someone else's ballpark, and do so without rolling over and being a doormat who gets steamrolled all the time. Right? It allows you to have a way of setting healthier boundaries for yourself and standing up for yourself in a way that is productive and empowering, rather than blaming or shaming or criticizing, all of which just, add fuel to the fire of the existing conflict. So that's a great way to kind of segue into, we're pretty much out of time. So thank you all so much for being here. And I will be getting the recording out to you if you want to review Ballpark Theory or remote controls, or you can even go through the exercise of creating your soothing connection again, because each time you go through it, you're going to layer it up and make it stronger so that it works faster and more effectively for you when you employ it. I will summarize these things in a written email. And if anyone feels like they could use a little extra help with making their life calmer and more enjoyable during holiday season or all year round, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to schedule a time to talk to you and see if, working together to take out some of your trash and get better mastery over these techniques and other techniques that I utilize with my clients, but I didn't share here, might help you to create the changes in your life that you would love to see. So I'm going to just You'll be getting emails from me, but just in case, if you want to, if you know you want to get some trash removed from yourself, out of your head, or if you just want more help in general with creating a calmer, more enjoyable life, I just put my email in the chat, so feel free to send me an email at drmarny@thrivinghealthyfamilies.com. And I thank you all so much for being here. It was so much fun to teach these things. I really love it. And when I teach these to clients and we can look at their specific situations in depth, it just, you see the aha light bulbs, or I see the aha light bulbs going off in their minds all the time. And there's a lot of arguing with me. They're not arguing with my rules and creating conflict, but they're like, I don't see how that can work in my situation. It couldn't possibly. But then we go through it and we start to see, oh, here's a different way to look at it. And here's what accepting would look like. Here's what arguing looks like, you know, and it just really helps to make the most amazing transformations. So if you're looking for transformation in your life, I'd love to talk to you. And no matter what, I wish you calm and enjoyable holidays. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
rest of your day.
Thanks, Dr. Marny.
You're so welcome.
Mm.